learn how to shade and do shadows, as well as then link with last week's lesson of the color wheel. So we're going to draw an eye and kind of break it down into shapes. And then once we get the main image drawn, we're going to add shading in to make it look 3D. And then once we get all of that done, we're going to divide the eye into 12 sections and do our color wheel. So we'll start off by doing the shape of the eye. And we want it to be big. We don't want a really small eye in the middle of our paper that we won't be able to fit the color wheel in. We really want to kind of take up the entire page. So the shape of an eye is basically like an almond shape. It's like a long oval. And whenever I'm drawing, I usually try and use the side, like kind of at an angle of the pencil and go really light, because chances are I'm going to make a mistake, and this is the easiest way then to erase it. So it kind of comes to like a rounded point at each end, kind of like a football, and then comes back around. Now I'm going to make, hold on, let me refocus this for you. Okay, well, that's a little better. So, I'm drawing really light, and there's a few mistakes up here, and I'm not even going to worry about erasing them yet. I'm going to, once I get it completely right, I'm going to go over it darker, and that's when I can erase what I didn't like. Okay, so this is going to be the inside of the eye, facing the nose. And there's a little scooped, if you look at your neighbor's eye, there's like a little scooped section on the inside of an eye. And we want to dry that. So it kind of, sometimes it goes straight, like straight out, and sometimes it kind of dips down a little. It's where your tear ducts are. Okay, so once we've drawn that, I'm going to kind of draw in a little darker line. I made a little mistake there. Let's make that a little bigger. Okay, so then I can erase anything that I didn't like, any of these little light sketchy lines. Okay, once we have the basic shape, then we need to add in the iris. The iris is the color part of your eye. It's a circle. And if you look around at your neighbors, the iris, you see the bottom of it, of the circle, but you don't see the top. The top of the iris kind of disappears back into the eyelid, unless you kind of have like a surprised look on your face and you open your eyes really big, then you can see the whole circle. So we're going to kind of have it disappearing up above. So if we were to complete the circle, it would be above that line, but we're not going to. So, and again, drawing really light because circles are kind of hard to do. Don't trace anything to get this. Part of it is kind of learning how to do a circle, so just try your best. If it's not perfect, don't worry about it. Okay, once you get kind of a basic, let's see if I can get it to refocus. I'll move the paper. That kind of helps last time. Okay. Good. Okay. So once we get that, we can draw the inside, which is the pupil. And that's another circle. We don't want it too big because we need to have room in here for the color wheel. So don't make it a really, really big pupil. Okay. Once we've done that, we're going to add the crease of the eyelid. We're not doing eyelashes until the very last thing. Now, the crease starts kind of pretty close to the inside, curves with the same curve as the eye shape, but then it gets a little bit wider, a little further away at the end. Okay, and we're just going to do a light one because I'll go back and add some shading there. Now my nose would be right here, okay? So now I'm going to add shading. When I'm shading, I use the complete side of the pencil, not on top but the side. So I'm going to take it and really lightly, you want a dull pencil, not a sharp pencil for this. Really lightly just kind of try and kind of go with the crease and a little above it, because there's a brow bone. If you want to feel up above your crease of your eye, there's a bone that your eyebrow kind of stems from. So this is going up to that brow bone, and then it's going to curve around basically your eye socket, curve around your tear duct and come down. Now, this is your nose, so there's a highlight on your nose, so it's not really going to have any shadows. So we're just going to kind of leave this, the edge of the paper, white. Okay, now the key to shading is to be kind of subtle about it, so to fade slowly from shadows to light, not like a black mark and then bright white paper. So I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to rub this, and I'm going to try and kind of fade it back into white. So it shouldn't look where it's just this dark everywhere and then it goes back to white. We want it to fade slowly. Just keep rubbing. So now see how that goes from dark to medium to light and back to normal. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of add a little bit of shading to the crease. Rub it. And now we're ready for our eyelashes. Now eyelashes don't stick up straight, they curve. So we're going to curve out and then back in, like almost like a C, like the letter C, but not quite that curved. And they're going to get longer the further out on the outside edge of the eye. And if I want more, I go back and add more. Again, look at your neighbor's eye. And then the bottom curves the other way. So again, like a C, but it's curving down. And they tend to be a lot shorter and not as many on the bottom. Okay, now that we're done with that, we're ready to do our eye into 12 sections. So we're going to start by doing 2 lines on top. That's going to be the top of our color wheel, and 2 lines on bottom. And they kind of curve smaller towards the middle and get bigger towards the outside. So smaller in the middle, bigger towards the outside. Now we need to do 4 lines dividing this in half and 4 lines dividing this in half. So I usually start by doing little tiny lines and seeing if I've divided. So that's only 3 lines. I need 4 lines. 1, 2, seeing where it would divide it evenly, and once I get that, then I'll extend it and make them bigger. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're not perfect. Like this is a lot bigger than this, and that's okay. So then the same thing on this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So then I make them bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now if I counted it, it should be 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. So now we're ready for tomorrow's lesson, or next week's lesson, which is using watercolor pencils to mix and layer on top of each other and make our color wheel. Awesome.